It's the beginning of 2024 as a calendar, and so, and as many of you know, we are, sorry, I have a draft here of the talk I'm trying to pull up. Okay, got it. My overall intention for you all this year is to have more awareness of your practice. And often the beginning of the year also I say something about what is practice. So I thought, I've done this before. So I went looking, and here's from 2019. What are we doing? That's the name of the talk. And today I thought I'd kind of jump off of it because in some ways, technically there is pretty limited amount, even though you might think that list is very full, and it is very full of 2 this, 3 that, blah, 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 in Buddhism. Really, there's pretty limited what we talk about. So it's how we talk about it in different contexts. So in some ways, hopefully, as we go along, you hear things in a way that makes more sense to you. Just as I've said to many of you, when you go on retreat, nothing new really happens. It's the same thoughts for the most part, but you have a sense of it in a different way, including whether to hang on to it or not, or whether it's valid or not, or it is something you want to put your life force into. So in a way, doing app hopefully will give you more clarity about what the teachings are. That's continuously. We are clarifying, as Gil said to me once, we're not practicing like to go find more suffering. Our practice is not like, let me just go find some more suffering. It's already present. And so we clarify our understanding of suffering. That's what our practice is. Or another way to put that is we clarify what life is. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, we practice so that each moment of our life becomes real life. Or another way to put it is, are you awake? Or that's the Buddhist sense, are you awake? And so let's start out with that. Of course, in Buddhism, as we know, the first noble truth is in life there's suffering. And in a way, we clarify that as we go along. I am going to be bringing in Gunaratana's book, Mindfulness in Plain English, as a way to help us clarify as we go along. So this is page 5. Suffering is a big word in Buddhist thought. It is a key term and should be thoroughly understood. The Pali word is dukkha. It does not just mean the agony of the body. It means that deep, subtle sense of dissatisfaction that is a part of every mind moment and that results directly from the mental treadmill. Sounds like treadmills at times. The essence of life is suffering, said the Buddha. At first glance, this statement seems exceedingly morbid and pessimistic. It even seems untrue. After all, there are plenty of times when we are happy, aren't we? Or aren't there? No, there are not. No, there are not. It just seems that way. Take any moment when you feel really fulfilled and examine it closely. Down under the joy, you will find that subtle, all-pervasive undercurrent of tension that no matter how great this moment is, it is going to end. No matter how much you just gained, you are inevitably either going to lose some of it or spend the rest of your days guarding what you have and scheming how to get more. In the end, you are going to die. In the end, you lose everything. It's all transitory. Sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? Luckily, it's not at all. It only sounds bleak when you view it from the ordinary mental perspective, the very perspective at which the treadmill mechanism operates. Underneath lies another perspective, a completely different way to look at the universe. It is a level of functioning in which the mind does not try to freeze time, does not grasp onto our experience as it flows by, and does not try to block things out and ignore them. It is a level experience beyond good and bad, beyond pleasure and pain. It is a lovely way to perceive the world, and it is a learnable skill. It is not easy, but it can be learned. Wow, doesn't that sound like awareness? So you can learn how you understand awareness. Right? Our ordinary way of understanding awareness is habitual and looping. 2.0 will, of course, talk more about it. There's another way that we can learn. And what is that? Now, I'm going to talk to you about briefly, broadly, of course, because it's only a brief talk, about might be the Zen way of knowing it and the insight way. And to me, they have three factors, right? One is pausing, one is paying attention, and then one is being openly aware, right? So of course, the first thing is we pause or we stop. Yes, we need to do that to stop us in our habitual track of processing in an ordinary way. We pause and we, those who took awake, the precept study, as Copancino say, when you realize I'm paraphrasing, the bigness of life, you have to sit down. It's that pause to say, oh yeah, this is something big happening. Otherwise, we're just busy doing X, Y, or Z, getting X, Y, Z, or rejecting X, Y, Z, or being ignorant or delusional about X, Y, or Z. That's the Buddhist sense of things. Now, what do we pause and pay attention to? So in Zen, essentially, we pay attention to our posture. The posture itself is awakening. In terms of instruction, we pay attention. Is the posture upright? Because the upright posture embodies awakening. It is an open posture, is an upright posture, it's a yogic posture that is a balance between making effort to be upright so that there's the openness to receive life and the stability to let life be known as it is. The posture itself is Buddha, is awakened. Now, we're given instruction on the posture, and we're asked to pay attention to that. When is it off? Then how do we make that adjustment? What happens when it goes off, right? And we're not actually given more instruction about what to do once it's off in some ways in Zen, except ideally you would be going to a teacher to talk about it. But in essence, is that not explicit but implicit is you keep on making adjustment so that you keep on carrying yourself both on the cushion and off. This is why so much of Zen practice is actually off the cushion. How do you bring the Zazen mind, the mind that's with things as they are, simply awareness, you could say, into every moment. So our posture takes us. Our posture is how we pay attention. Our posture is what tells us when we're awakened. That's how I achieve the body is always present, right? Or that kind of sense. The body is always present. So when you're paying attention to the posture, to the body, then you are present. When we're present, we are awake. This is the essence of Buddhism. Now, because most of us, when we're present with how things are, like right now, I'm talking to you and I'm being aware of my posture, and my back hurts, right? And part of me realize it's because I have my legs crossed, so I'm not actually even on the chair. But for something is going. Why don't Part of me is going, why don't you just uncross your leg? The other is just like, I'm keeping my cross legs crossed. It's something, right? So if I pay more attention, what is it? Like, I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I don't know why I didn't just move. And so part of it is investigating. And this is where the insight part really supports us to really have more tools about investigating what is the drive towards what happens to both body movement, emotional movement, mental movement. So we want to investigate. That's what we're paying attention to. Each of these, knowing them in themselves, and also to give us more information so that we can keep on staying awake. I mean, the methodologies are to keep us awake. So what we're doing this year, technique-wise, right? I keep on bringing in the Zen lens to balance out, because the problem I think, with the insight style is that, well, it's so cool that it tells you this is what it is, you do this, this will happen. Really cool, but then you get, I know I get stuck in that, like, am I doing it right? Is this wrong? Is this, do I understand it correctly? And I think that's useful to clarify what is it that you know. So in the meditation, right, I said, come into the posture. That's the Zen instruction. And then we say, are you awake? How do you know that you're awake? Now, probably most of you started thinking, oh, how do I know that I'm awake? Who wanted to say a few things when I asked, how do you know that you're awake? Who wants to share some of the things that came up? If you remember. Okay, Ben?
When you said that,
Oh.
I told myself I actually don't know if I'm awake.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened? Do you remember?
I kept breathing.
Okay, you kept breathing. All right. Ben, did I see your hand?
Yes. I was kind of kidding myself, I think, in hindsight, that I thought I was awake because I was reacting to everything in my mind and around me.
I think that's what most of us think about, that we're awake. Oh, I'm going here and going here, thinking this, making plans. I saw a hand. Joanne?
Sorry for the delay. I smiled when I heard your voice.
Mm-hmm. So that's how you knew you, when I said, how do you know you're awake? You said, because I smile. Okay. Okay. Did anyone go to a certain place when you heard that? Took your attention to a certain place besides a thought. So this is what we want to have some sense of. Part of this app program, I hope, for those in app, is that you come with questions, right? How do I know? How, you know? Not just like, okay, I'm here to absorb information, because that's really not. To clarify, yeah, sure, I'll give you pieces of information. But really, this is for you to clarify for yourself. And you know, like we have the container of app, but that should, to me, that should always be your practice. Well, you're like a Q-tip. I can only see your nose up, which is fine if you want to stay as a Q-tip. But right now it's just a, you know, because I do respond to people. So just like, you know, if you're going, I don't understand, then I might say something more. Okay. So we want to have some clarity about it. So let's go to let me look at my notes here. Gunaratana. So we are understanding how the craft of meditation in the Vipassana style will help us have a clarity of awareness. So let's go to page 11, which begins, what meditation isn't. Don't tell him, but that's a very Zen thing to start with how things are not. At least that's my take. He's great, you know, meditation, the word, there are different versions of it, many subjects on it. And I want to go to actually page 12. This book is specific. We are dealing exclusively with the Vipassana system of meditation. We are going to teach you to watch the functioning of your own mind in a calm and detached manner so you can gain insight into your own behavior. The goal is awareness, an awareness so intense, concentrated, and finely tuned that you will be able to pierce the inner working of reality itself. So the methodology is insight. So here, when he says Vipassana system of meditation, he's talking about the methodology, right? Not just Vipassana, since he's talking about concentration too, the insight tradition. All right, let's go to 14. Misconception number 3, meditation is a mysterious practice that cannot be understood. Oh, sorry, go back to 13, top of 13. Vipassana seeks another goal, awareness. Concentration and relaxation are considered necessary concomitant to awareness. They require precursors, handy tools, and beneficial byproducts, but they are not the goal. The goal is insight. Vipassana meditation is a profound religious practice aimed at nothing less than the purification and transformation of your everyday life. Okay, so in this style, we are talking from a religious perspective. By that, it comes from a religious background. You don't have to be religious to do this, though it is from a religious background, okay? All right, let's just be clear about that. And then 14. Misconception number 3, meditation is a mysterious practice that cannot be understood. Here again, this is almost true, but not quite. Meditation deals with levels of consciousness that lie deeper than conceptual thought. Therefore, some of the experience of meditation just won't fit into words. That does not mean, however, that meditation cannot be understood. There are deeper ways to understanding things than the use of words. You understand how to walk. You probably can't describe the exact order in which your nerve fibers and your muscles contract during that process, but you know how to do it. Meditation needs to be understood that same way, by doing it. It is not something that you can learn in abstract terms or something to be talked about. It is something to be experienced. Meditation is not a mindless formula that gives automatic and predictable results. You can never really predict exactly what will come up during any particular session. It is an investigation and an experiment, an adventure every time. In fact, this is so true that when you do reach a feeling of predictability and sameness in your practice, you can read that as an indication that you've gotten off track and are headed for stagnation. Learning to look at each second as if it were the first and only second in the universe is essential in Vipassana meditation. So this is why, like, when I ask for an experience, I don't want, of course, already when you describe one is already in past, but it needs to be a current past, right? And we do have to put words to it because that's how we describe things. I also want to say, where's my notes on that? That's the purpose of the prompts, right? For you to then say, oh, I'm going to pause, and this is how I'm going to pay attention. Now in Zen, we rely on the question as a way to ask you to stop. Are you awake? Hardly any words are given during Zazen. Blanche used to say that. Are you awake? Otherwise, we're just sitting there being awake, and that's really hard to do. So how do we know that we're awake? In the meditation, up to the moment in which I say, how do you know that you're awake? On a certain level, I took us off Zen course, right? Are you awake? Just the question that then you respond to. On a certain level in Zen, whatever you come up is to be received as awakeness. No, that's a problem though, right? Is most of us, whatever came up, you're probably like, oh, how do I know? Right? So if we were clear that, oh, maybe Ben, when whatever you said, was that you had the clarity or you got caught in it, then you became clear that, oh, I'm just cycling through thoughts. Would that be correct? Yes. So, however, in Vipassana practice or insight practice, it's going to be very specific about how to know that. And so we use that as a tool. Otherwise, we're just resting in awareness in Zen, which majority of us are not doing. I know I don't do most of the time. So in a way, when we have moments in which we can wake up, right? But in Zen, usually nobody asks you, are you awake? I don't know if Blanche got any flack for it. I know when we used to do Zazen instruction, where it was pretty much just what Dogen said. And then you'd be taken down to the Zendo to show how to go in and out of the Zendo and bow to the cushion and all that. And then a teacher came along, who had some insight background, and said, oh, we're going to break it up and we're going to talk a little bit about anxiety and stuff. Oh, MB. We had so many priest meetings about it and how that was in Zazen practice because Zazen cannot be defined and and you don't do anything. The results? We just do pretty much like the first class in meditation training, and then people get taken down as a separate thing, right? Which in a way was helpful. That part. But Zen, because historically, of course, we don't describe too much because when you have a thought, you're going to get stuck in that. Is this right or is this wrong? But we need to, so in this practice, we are balancing the two. We are harmonizing When is it that you fall too much into understanding? And when is it you fall too much into, oh yeah, I got it, right? This is it. Nothing else to be done. I got it. Now, it isn't that Vipassana isn't trying to say just be with things as they are, but it's a very specific way to get to what is there is there. In this book, it takes about 5 pages to get to what is there, which is on page 21. Meditation is selfish. Interesting. Oh, sorry, it's the next one. When you meditate, misconception number 10, when you meditate, you sit around thinking lofty thoughts. Wrong again. There are certain systems of contemplation in which this sorts of thing is done. So we want to, let's pause for a minute and be very clear. There are many, many, many kinds of meditations. There are classes of meditation. And of course, the 2 big classes are shamatha, which is concentration practice, the unification of concentration, to be completely clear about it. And then there's vipassana as a methodology, which is V means steady or constant, and passana means to see. So that's where you get the translation insight, right? So when you steady your seeing or your view, then you have a clearer sense of what it is. So much of Vipassana methodology in terms of practices, are you remembering to stay steady with your attention? And you get given very specific places to pay attention. And then the quality of it, of mindfulness then, is to have the clarity of awareness, right? Skillful clarity of awareness. All right. Now, and then, but the problem is, again, is that we don't see what is there, because we make associations, because what is the fundamental thing? And this is very, it's true of Buddhism, that the base of everything, right? This is why anxiety and dissatisfaction, don't forget the other definition of dukkha, right? There's dis-ease, dissatisfaction, discontent, because at the base we're always uncomfortable with impermanence, with anicca, right? Now, anicca, impermanence, yes, it is that things are changing, but another way to understand is things are not constant. This is why we grasp onto things being constant. You will love me forever, just like this, exactly the way I want you to. Say it exactly that way, when I want you to, and this is how, and wouldn't that be like your perfect lover or partner? That would be the perfect, and we spend so much time training that person, or trying to, right? Well, I know I do. And they keep fighting back, darn them, right? So we want that constancy, as opposed to, oh, they're busy. Oh, they're somewhere else. Oh, if they love me, they wouldn't be, So we want this constancy. And it's the same thing. Maybe we don't put it in terms of love, but this phone should always work in the exact same way. So we want the constancy, and we suffer when there isn't constancy. Now, we want to be really careful. We might, what the words I'm telling you and the philosophy of Buddhism, the Dharma, the teaching is that, but we want to be really careful that we don't place the thought the concept in front of our experience. And this happens a lot when we're trying hard to practice, right? Where we and I think it's a useful thing, but we just want to be careful that we're always reciting the teachings, because it is just like a parroting, right? We want to learn and experience for ourselves. This is where you get into the point in which when you can talk about your experience of the Dharma, right? It doesn't always have to be like an I, but it has to have a sense of lived experience, not just a parroting of concepts. And as we practice, we want to be really careful that we don't place the concept in front of our experience. And a lot of time that comes then with an ego, right? And I want to be very clear here that a sense of self is not a problem. It's when we solidify or when we then make it having to be something, right? I'm a good practitioner if I do this. I'm a good Buddhist if I remember all the things and yes, sure. And on a certain level, I think it can be a stage, and it's a decent stage, but you want to be really careful. Some of you have heard, I used to have a girlfriend, this is, gosh, back in the 90s. Whenever we fought, she would be like, everything is a Buddhist concept to you. And I'd be like, yeah, it is. But you know how annoying I must have been, oh, this is just, blah, blah, blah happening. You're doing papancha. I am, it's always her fault, of course, the papancha, right? Not mine. So we want to be really careful how we use, where do we put it in front as opposed to experiencing the teachings. And this is where the Zen part comes in often, because we really want to focus on keep on doing nothing. Or another way to put that is open curiosity. It is also actually at least in the Bay Area, convert insight practice has moved much more towards the open awareness as opposed to directed awareness. But they're both, and I'm not going to go into them today. But I will say that we have to leave room. So beginner's mind, we've heard that, right? I think it's a great expression that Suzuki Roshi came up with. But beginner's mind is not a mind that doesn't know anything. A beginner's mind is a mind that's open to other information than what we know, right? Maybe even, I don't know, excitement, that maybe even the knowledge that I don't know. Oh, here's Blanche. It's from 2019 when I picked it up, but it's still a good one. This is from a lecture in 2001. Beginner's mind is Zen practice in action. It's the mind that is innocent of preconceptions and expectations, judgments, and prejudices. Beginner's mind is just present to explore and observe and see things as it is. I think of beginner's mind as the mind that faces life like a small child, full of curiosity and wonder and amazement. I wonder what this is. I wonder what that is. I wonder what this means, without approaching things with a fixed point of view or a prior judgment. Just asking, what is it? So I want to go back to, let's end with Gunaratana here. To page 10, actually. And then the purpose of meditation is personal transformation. The you that goes in one side of the meditation experience is not the same you that comes out the other side. Meditation changes your character by a process of sensitization, by making you deeply aware of your own thoughts, words, and deeds. Your arrogance evaporates, your antagonism dries up, your mind becomes still and calm, and your life smooths out. Thus, meditation, properly performed, prepares you to meet the ups and downs of existence. It reduces your tension, fear, and worry. Restlessness recedes, and passion moderates. Things begin to fall into place, and your life becomes a glide instead of a struggle. I like that. Your life becomes a glide instead of a struggle. I like that because I know when I'm like gliding on the hardwood floor, you gotta run, put in some effort, and then you put yourself in the position, your body in a certain position, and then you have to let go and trust all the effort you put in is gonna take you. And the more you relax, the further you go. Isn't that true? I just thought of all this. But that's how it works for me, right? Same thing with, I don't know, anything, skipping stone. It has to be effort and yet enough looseness to let things go, to let yourself into the experience. All this happens through understanding. I want to be very careful here. By understanding on a certain level, it means clarifying what you know. Meditation sharpens your concentration and your thinking power. Then, piece by piece, your own subconscious motives and mechanism become clear to you. Your intuition sharpens. The precision of your thoughts increases, and gradually you come to a direct knowledge of things as they really are, without prejudice and without illusion. All this is about a wholesome mind you. So are these reasons enough to bother? Scarcely. These are just promises on paper. There is only one way you will ever know if meditation is worth the effort. Learn to do it right and do it. See for yourself. All right, that's what I got. Thank you for your attention. Any gliding back this way? Anything coming my way here?
How can I ask myself, when is efforting a concept, a meditation that I have to do a certain way or whatever, right? Because I do effort and then let go.
The short answer is, and a good one, is when you start to suffer or someone else starts to suffer. So if we make effort and then we find ourselves tensing, then this is why we have to be really clear about our body, right? Because we live in those thoughts, right? Okay, yeah, Reverend Lien said I should sit still for 20 minutes at least. So I'm sitting still for 20 minutes at least, because that's how long it takes for my body to settle. 2,600 years almost, so this gotta be true. So then you just, but then you do it, and it's good instruction. All those reasons are good instruction. And when you go to do it, where does it become like, I gotta, and it becomes painful, either bodily or emotionally or mentally? When judgment comes up, when you're like, figuratively or, like, why can't I? You know, oh, this is a stupid period. I can't do it. I'm too wound up. I'm too blah, blah, right? Then, right? Or, you know, your children are running around and you're like, ah, I need quiet, right? And you yell at them, then they suffer because you have a tight idea. Notice in the meditation, you know, I did turn off I muted myself at the beginning, and then I didn't mute myself on purpose. And I've done that before here. And actually, I'm thinking next week, we do meet next week, let's all unmute ourselves, because that's a real Zendo experience, isn't it? I mean, in Zoom, we're like, too good to be true. Right? Just mute everybody. I'm here all by myself. Only people around me I get mad at, right? But in a Zendo, you don't have a choice who sits next to you, except in a retreat. Well, they're assigned, and then you still don't have a choice, right? But really, how are we with life as it is? And we're going to watch that. Yes, there's certain conditions. That's why, you know, we try to go to a place that's quiet or whatever. But the harder practice actually is the everyday life practice. So how do we practice with that? So yeah, next week, everyone unmutes, cough away. I almost started rustling on purpose, but then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make suffering then, see? Yeah. All right, that was a good question, I thought. Thank you.